I just had to open my note page.
Yeah, and you know, to formally welcome everybody and just say hi, I'm Sally Griffin, aka Millionaire Yogi, and I help visionaries become world-changing influencers. And so I've been doing this for at least 3.5 years, all moving everything that I do online, training people to be online, even if you've got the most unconventional work. And that's kind of the thing that fires me up. I'm interested in how to move you online and how to create a very different work environment. And it would be considered, hey, Ulrich, lovely to see you briefly. I saw a little flash of you. You know, originally when I set up all of this, house, brother, another mother, I set it up so that everybody could be digital nomads. And that term is thrown around a lot. And it sounds like it's so professional, you know, everybody traveling the world barefoot in business. But, you know, you've got to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. So all of these digital nomads were probably at a very similar level, perhaps, to you. I can see Caroline coming in now. This is my neighbor who I also said to her when she gets the sound on, you know, how can you start to do this even in times of when you're feeling under a lot of pressure, a lot of emergency energy around here. So the number one thing about shifting your business is, guess what? The news is it's a great time to do it. If you wanted no better time in the market to do it, this is it. It's perfect timing. So you need to kind of take that on. There's a lot of people who will not be responding at all. Like literally, another entrepreneur who I follow, Roger Hamilton, was talking about giving you, hey Caroline, lovely to see you. We live beside each other and we met down the end of the garden yesterday. But what I'm going to do now is make sure that you're all muted. So I'm going to mute Gail and I'm going to mute Caroline. Okay. And what that means is when you want to speak, you just unmute. And that's learning the technology as well. Some of you don't actually know this. I taught my mother the other day, who is a doctor and who is frontline in the coronavirus. And she's 82. She would hate me mentioning that. That would be like a crime to mention it. But I'm mentioning it because she's still working full time. And she has this calling to work with people, even in this dire circumstance. And I said, what on earth are you doing? What is the practice doing, letting you be face to face with people right now? So I've spent the last 2 weeks, and it was very quick with my parents because they're sort of firing on all cylinders, you know, to shift them onto online. And the impact that I know I've personally had now is amazing. I've shifted my mother's entire doctor's practice onto Zoom. That's gonna be amazing, you know what I mean, for a lot of people. So if I can do it with my parents, believe me, I can do it with you. You know, with all the resistance when it went down, and then my dad going, oh, this is a nightmare, and all of that. So you just need to get yourself, first of all, to know that you are ahead of the game. That's not going to be apparent to a lot of people that they need to do this until months later when there's some impact. But as I was saying with Roger Hamilton, one of the descriptions that he gave us, what is that?
She's saying she can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Okay. You need your computer turned up. You need hang on, let me get in chat. Look in chat. Okay. You need to turn, I'm slow on this, turn your computer sound up. Sound up. Yeah, up. I think she's dived off and she's going to come back in.
So Sally, can I just interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
There's another top tip. If you're on a computer with a keyboard and you're muted and you've just got something you want to briefly say, you just hold down the space bar on your keyboard and then that unmutes you. And then when you let go of the space bar, you're automatically muted again.
Great. Oh, that's so quick. I didn't even know that one. There we are. Ta-da!
I've done 5 classes now, so.
Well done. Yeah, online, I know. So Roger Hamilton, back to him, gave the analogy of when there was the tsunami, which many of us knew about at the time, which killed 200,000 people. But the first incidents of that, before that came into Thailand and Sri Lanka and so many different places, was that the water was just sucked out for miles on the beach. And the first experience that people had was, oh my God, these beautiful shells. Let me go walking further and further out into the beach. And so the first line of people who didn't get what was going on were the ones who were hit the worst. The second line of people who stayed back far on the beach, projected, looked forward, and saw that something was altering. They saw this big wave coming in. They were kind of mesmerized by it, but then they started to run for high ground. They too didn't make it, right? And he was giving us this analogy, not to freak you out, but to get that if you are now being like this, moving your business online, you're the ones that ran to high ground. You got it immediately like that. You got the information, you moved up to high ground, and you started doing something the minute you got it. And so all of the people who are doing this right now, consider yourself those people, and you're going to be the ones that make it through the tsunami. And it doesn't mean that everything is going to be the same ever again. In fact, we're going to see some very, very positive changes come out of this. One is homeschooling will probably take over. Another is people working from home. When those businesses see everybody who is, they're paying for rental space, they're doing all the usual things that they've never changed ever, and then they see how effective people are working at home and much happier, because you can spend time, for me, with my animals, with my, okay, Caroline, come on. Let's see if you can do it. I want to see if you're unmuted. You're not unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
Great. And so the first part of this, I was just giving an analogy, and basically anybody who has got that you need to act now. I was saying this to the people that I coach a week ago, and they're sitting there going, oh my God. And I'm like, no, now, like yesterday, now. And so because you guys are here now, you're going to be the ones that will be the successes who come through that. And I really need you to get that. You should honor yourselves. You should be proud of yourselves. And I'm going to now mute Caroline, but it should not mute the sound. You should hear me. It's actually your computer. You need to turn up the sound on your computer.
I have, but I'm on my phone now, so I'll just. It's not working. My computer's maybe just slightly dodgy. It's an old Mac.
No problem.
Yeah.
We can just change platforms. That's the joy of this. Yeah. So I'm going to now mute you. But whenever we get interactive, that's just to make it less noisy in the background. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
So you are, hang on, you are no, you're muted. So the thing that I'm talking about mindset, because I've been teaching entrepreneurs for years now, and you need to get that the number one thing that makes success is not strategy, systems, tactics, methods. It's mindset. 100% mindset. Even if you already have some ideas of the things that you're going to be doing, when you hit that block, whatever yours is, and it could be the technology right now because you don't know how to get on it, or it could be a little later that you start freaking out about money. That's what I'm talking about, mindset. Because right now we are in a position where we can actually drive you forward through these times. I want you to think of it like a river that is now full of water is moving very fast. But if you get on a raft now and you're able to just float on it, so that piece is about changing expectation. Changing expectation, like right now, of the way your life is and the way it's going to occur for some time. And that's a good thing, because those people who even shift that bit and they go, rather than ranting and raving about life isn't the same, they go, okay, I get this. Life isn't the same. And now I'm going to shift modes. And the shift, which is in business terms called pivoting your business, like pivoting like a dancer, pivoting direction is the thing that we want to get you started with right now and calming you down, right, with that. So the piece that I'm saying to you, you're already ahead of the game because you're here. Second piece is managing your mind is going to be the number one thing that you do. And a tip I'm going to give you, which I use all the time, when I am a chilled out person, as Gail knows, she laughs about me. There is something in me which is pretty chilled out. It takes a lot for me to really start to like feel the grind of something. What I use is scent. And I'm going to tell you that right now because scent works on a totally different level. It's affecting you in your house. So anybody who uses incense, who uses oils, who, like I have lavender oil, which I literally sniff. And then you start to work from the mindset like you've got this toolkit of things that you can lean on. Scent is so enormous, I can't even tell you. Like the Americans say, I can't even tell you, but I can tell you. It's almost like your best friend right now because it works beyond any of our perceptions. The second on business is I want you to know that the number one quality of people who are successful that Richard Branson says, actually I like some feedback about that. Let's think about it. You can type in the chat or you can unmute. What do you think the number one quality is of somebody who's successful as an entrepreneur?
Flexibility.
Good answer, but no. House chill? I can't read that.
11th house chill. You're so chilled because of
I'm so chill because I have the 11th house chill planet. So can you think of anything else? Can anybody else think of it? Resilience? It's good. Good question, but no. Anybody else? You guys, come on, squeeze something out of that little brain. What is the thing? Yeah, do you want to type it or do you want to unmute? I'm going to unmute you.
Sorry.
You're unmuted.
Consistency of habits.
It's a really good answer. No. Shot down. I want to hear some others because, you know, this is what's really interesting. It's going to be like a relief when you hear it. I want to be a sweet relief when you, so Gail, can you think of anything? And just so I can tell you, Caroline, so in your lower screen, are you on a Mac or are you on a
I'm
PC?
on a phone. I'm on a phone.
Oh, you're on a phone.
Sorry, it's because my Mac's not doing it.
So let me handle that for you today, but there is actually a way of muting yourself. And I want you to start to learn your keyboard or your navigation system on the phone so that on Mac,
So Caroline, if you just touch your screen, then at the bottom you'll see that picture of a microphone and it's probably in white, and if you just tap on it then it will go red and that will mute you.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I did it.
Yay! Result. So Gail hasn't answered. I want Gail to come up. But what do you think the number one thing is that she's thinking? She always takes so long. Like, squeeze your brain. Come on. Come on, you're a fast thinker. Just anything. It's not like you're going to fail on this. Most people don't know it, but it's going to be a relief when you hear it.
Something like just not allowing, you know, thinking outside of the box, not allowing any obstacles to be kind of present somehow, to driving through and being willing to negotiate problems. I don't know.
That's a great answer. You're the nearest of anybody. And the word is persistence. Persistence. So you can take this all the way back to things like when Edison and the other guy who nobody ever remembers invented electricity. Edison didn't invent electricity. He wasn't the first one, but he was the most persistent. And so he's the name that rides. And you see this in so many different things, like many people, they're named for developing something, a patent or something, or carrying on something, and they're not the ones who are the creators at all. So when you kind of get that in your bones, and you know that this is not the business world, like, oh great, bingo, and then you get to put your slippers on and just hang out and be rich. It's not like that. It's like this. It's like a windy, curvy road. And if you are persistent with every single shift in the market, every single float, and then it brings in the flexibility that Ulrich was talking about, you start to see that this is not unusual, that we're going through this right now. This would have happened in a different way at some point. You would have had to consider it, because times are always moving. And I'll give you another analogy for that. When we think back, I'm the grand old age of 58. And I think back to when I see retro movies of the 70s, because I was a child of the 70s, and then I was a teenager at the end of it, and I was a teenager into the 80s, and then I was in early 20s in the 80s. When you see movies of those time zones, they're like completely different blocks of weird time. Like you sort of see all the, you know, the 70s flares and all of that kind of thing that people were wearing. And then you see the 80s, those cumbersome, ludicrous computers that I never was taught on it, but I saw them because they were only in science classes, right? And I think sometime in the 80s, we had to have a calculator for mathematics. It's like another world when you think back, but that is the encompassing feel of your life. You were there for all of these things, but when others look back on them, they go, oh my God. I work with a lot of people who were born in the late 80s and early 90s. And I'm like, wow, I'd done university. I was sort of on another level at that time. But for them, 90s, it's like so retro, so ancient. So, you know, what the hell was going on at that time? And you need to see that every period is like this, that we have already made the shift. Michael Faraday, thank you, 1831. Is this from Ulrich? Yeah, that's Ulrich's mind. He looks for the facts. Swan and Edison in 1882, but you see how early it is. Michael Faraday, 1831, was actually the inventor of electricity. And we never hear about him. It takes the Ulrichs of the world to find his name again. So who we are going to be, bless you, Ulrich, you're so good at those kind of things, systems. Who we are going to be is we're starting off a conversation now for you to set the mindset for yourself first, to get that we're going to shift somehow, right? And we're going to brainstorm for some of you because you don't know how. There may be a bit of a teething problem where you're going to start to learn a little bit about technology, which is already, it's not the cumbersome thing that I was supposed to learn in the 80s, which I never did. It's way advanced, way easier, way simpler. And the fact that the virus has come up now, which would have been something at some point, would have hit this planet to be able to take a pause and to shift us. This, in spiritual terms, is considered like a quantum shift. So let's take it. And rather than being freaking out that things aren't the same, well, let's start to look outside the box, like Gail said, and see how and then have resilience, like Sally said, to ride the wave and be the person who surfs the wave, not the one who's looking at it while it's coming towards you and you're thinking, oh, there's all these shells on the beach, amazing, and no attention whatsoever, or the ones who see it and they don't quite get it and then they finally run. No, you're already on the wave. That's it. So at some point, I'm going to do a bit of breath work as well to get us back to the space of really being creative. What you want to do and consider is that while everything is speeding up around you, not business because it's slow and it looks slow out there, but the mindset is speeding up of panic, of lots of things, you know, people sort of being very stressful. If you can start to use the breath, use the scent that I was recommending, that you start to smell different scent to slow yourself down. And if you like, another analogy, it's time to do the eagle eye view. It's not the time to be the little mouse in the grass looking at the tiny, you know, details of things. It's time to take the eagle eye view. Why are eagles used always as the symbol of, you know, this vast, well, they're towering over everybody else for one thing. But the other thing is they can see into the distance. They can see, like, life from a viewpoint is that everything is tiny and they can just put things in perspective. And that's what we really need, is a bit of perspective now. So now I want to talk about specific businesses, and what will happen is, I saw it last week. I told all my people, jump online. Now, the first thing is, perfectionism is the death of a good business. Perfectionists will be a problem to themselves, right? And when I train people, trust me, the worst ones, or bless you if you are one, the hardest ones to train are perfectionists. Because when they have to make a shift, they're so focused at this detail, their eyes are down here at this tiny little level, that it's got to be perfect before they can put it out. And that isn't the energy that we want at this time. We want you to make mistakes. We want you to be in a safe space like this to make them. Want you to feel like, oh, you're back to being a kid with wonderment, like, I'm going to try this and see how this works. And then if it doesn't, there is no success and failure, incidentally. On that other model of persistence, there's no success or failure. So when I look back at all the different things I've done and things that did not work out the way I expected, I don't see, oh, that was a failure. I'm like, that was a training ground, always, for my roadmap movie that I'm on. You know, I'm on a road movie, and it was just an incident that happened, and that's the difference. So don't be the perfectionist that is like, I cannot possibly do a next step until it's perfected. Not true. So a bit like Caroline, came back in on the phone and then didn't know how to mute herself. That's kind of the mindset I want you to be in, to first of all handle things right now. And let's talk about the businesses that you're moving online, and let's brainstorm some of this. And I'll tell you what I saw last week when everybody was suddenly like, I'm, you know, see a lot of people in the yoga world and all of that trying to get online. What you see at the beginning of that is that they just go online, but they haven't got anything in place. Bless them for doing that. But some were the amateur level of it, which you can resolve pretty quickly, was kind of hilarious. It was like almost like the, you know, it was a comedy sketch. Somebody who's leading something at the back of a room in the darkest spot with bad sound, and then everybody else who's like up front and close, and you can see all the audience, but you can't, you know, the person at the back. So there's some obvious ones, right? Lighting is essential. And if you can't get yourself a light immediately, then put yourself near a window if you can. Obviously not with the backlighting to the window. So I've got a window right there, but I've also got a light. So I'm going to turn this around and show you what I'm using. So I'm using this, which is a ring light. Can you all see? I think. And if you're on a phone, there's a thing called a diva light, which you can clip on it, and it's a tiny ring light. In fact, let me get it so I can show you. I'll show you a diva light. You can get them from Amazon for, I think this one was about £7. So how it works is it's like this. If I'm using it on my phone, it's like this. The quality improvement is enormous. That's a £7 thing. They're super cheap. So it turns off, and you can have layers of the different lighting availability. It also, ladies, makes you look 10 years younger. Trust me. I've gone through all of these things, right, with technology. When you might want to get a little bit further, and I'm just going to introduce you to my gimbal. Hello, my gimbal. I'm showing you this not because I want you to necessarily know how far you need to go, but, you know, I worked in film and photography for years, so I'm naturally inquiring all the time about what's the best thing on the market. This thing, the S Move, was the best thing on the market. So you put your phone in here, and then when I turn this on, it will become like that. And so I can do videos like this now. Now for something which I will, you know, we'll talk about individual kind of businesses and that. This is amazing for me because the quality, as you can see, it's called a gimbal. This was more expensive. This was about 150 quid. But it also has, I can screw in a tripod at the bottom, and it will, it just makes, there's certain pieces of technology that you don't need to do all of it, but if you're starting to think about it, I'm just mentioning it now so that you can get your head around it. Best thing for 7 quid is this if you're on your phone. It will up the level of the quality that you're experiencing immediately hugely. So let's talk about your different businesses. That's just a little tip for today that we can, you know, when I go into the whole piece of the studio lighting and everything else, it's a different professional level. But I just want you to get your sense that you can get your hands on these things very quickly and immediately elevate from all the people who are just struggling to get on Zoom right now and they don't know how to make it look better. So you're already ahead of the game just with that. So let's talk about your businesses. I'm going to let this go on a little bit longer today. So it's 9:30, but please unmute. Caroline's got an amazing one, so let's talk about yours. I'll unmute you. Oh, you are unmuted, I think. Yeah, can you hear me?
I don't know. Yes. Hello.
Hello.
I've got one of those lights actually as well, so that's good. I'll put it on next time. I am a humanist celebrant. So I am wanting to take my ceremonies online. So a humanist celebrant is somebody that does non-religious ceremonies. So I want to take funerals probably initially online, which sounds awful, but it's going to have to happen in what's happening just now. At the moment, you're allowed to have 3 people at a funeral. So it's going to happen that we can have a wider the wider people that want to come to a funeral it's going to be videoed anyway. So to take it online for the unforeseeable future, we're going to have to go online. So so Sally is my neighbour, and we've been talking over the fence about this. So I'm just very interested to see what ideas she has. My organisation that I work for is a big national organisation, are going to give us some kind of training because obviously it has to happen, but it's an evolving thing. So yes, so that's what it is. That's what I'm here for.
Amazing. So you can see how your head is going, woo, how can that suddenly go online? And what I'll say to you, Caroline, is actually of all the people that that I know what they do and the various business structures that people need to put in place, you're a dream person to work with, right? Because it's so uncanny that this has all happened. I mean, forget Corona, people die anyway, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
All the time. And then if you are stuck in a position where you can't do one of the most emotionally uplifting, connected things for people, the downside of that is going to be horrendous. So it's great that businesses are moving you online fast, and there's nothing to be you know, sort of embarrassed, ashamed, or whatever you want to call that thing where, oh, we want to put it down because it's like we're feeding on the idea of the coronavirus bringing funerals forward. It's a necessity, and you need to help your people.
Yeah.
And that's the mind shift right there. It's like, and there will be costing, pricing options. There will be various things that you can do that elevates it way beyond the average that even your organization may be thinking about. Because guess what? If the organization hadn't already had that in its program, it may be pretty average. So I'm just saying that to you. If they haven't thought ahead already, in other words, then what you'll get is they're struggling with it too. It's the same thing, that they're just trying to learn bit by bit. So you can be way ahead of the game. So let's hear other people's work.
Yeah.
I'm going to mute you now. Okay. Somebody else want to tell us what you do?
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, yeah. I use my full name, Sally Shakti, whenever I'm speaking about myself or being referred to. My business is called Writing and Thriving, and it's at the moment is one-to-one mentoring for writers. And what I'm looking to develop is a well-being while writing package for university students. I spent a year working on a well-being while writing program at the University of Westminster last year whilst I was completing my PhD. So I've got a basic foundation for the program. We found that a lot of people didn't come to the sessions because they were in central London, and you know, people who are at the university, students at the university, myself included, don't necessarily live in central London, so they weren't going to the sessions. So we already started talking about the possibility of providing videos and online content, but nothing really moved forward. And what I've seen, obviously since the coronavirus, is that the university has within a week shifted all of its teaching and learning platforms to online. I've got a call set up with the graduate school director, who I've been working with directly, for Friday, to talk about how we can put my provision online and make it available. And what I want to do is develop basically a downloadable course that could be available to any student and wholesale to any university as a package.
That's amazing. So again, what you'll find is you'll be in the scramble of everybody who has never done this before, trying to get it into a system. And what I would say to you is one of the biggest failures that I see of all the people who are moving stuff online is they don't have any systems in place in the back end. So 20% of your sales or your business is up front. So like this, 20% is like this. If you happen to be somebody who's comfortable with sales, because many people aren't, right? Mm-hmm. And that's another piece I want to teach you, actually. My people who are, you know, in the programs that I work with, there's some of them who are always like, ugh, you know, they feel like that around sales. It's like this ghastly module that we do. It's not ghastly at all. The thing that you need to get about where you are right now is you need to be 100% enthusiastic about what it is you do. That's the big piece of sales right there. And then it would be like this. If I was saying to you, hey guys, there's the most incredible thing, and I'll say happening online. You know, it's amazing. It's like this weekend that I'm doing. Actually, it was an LA event, which I've converted all online. And it's happening on April the 4th and 5th. And, you know, it's just going to be incredible. And there's going to be a lineup of speakers. And these speakers could absolutely change your mind and life. So what's the missing piece? Right? I'm not inviting you. And that's the sales piece right there. And so when it's coming to your piece online, many people will step online, but they won't actually do anything other than step online. So back-end systems, that conversation that I was starting with you is 80% of business. Follow up, follow up, follow up is most of business. Only 20% is upfront, and that's going to be one of the biggest things that we see as a problem when people step online. They won't be collecting data, they won't be doing follow-up emails or anything. It'll just be, hey guys, there's this amazing thing I'm doing. That's it. So, Ulrich, you had your paw up. Do you want to tell us what you do?
Yeah, actually, I have to jump onto another class in a minute.
Great.
So, daily Feldenkrais with Daniel. So, yeah, well, 50% of my income for the last couple of years has been online anyway, because I build online education currently for a big anatomy company that I'm part of, and it's what's been happening. Our model is that we go around the world training osteopaths and physiotherapists and chiropractors and yoga teachers, for that matter, in a type of kind of rehab work. We do movement rehab, and we look at the body and joint mechanics and how people are walking and what happens with injuries. So that's, fortunately, a couple of years ago, I had this crazy idea to build an online platform so we could share all of the education with them after they graduated, and invite them to subscribe to an annual plan or to buy one-off bespoke courses, you know, whatever, biomechanics of the lower limb, dysfunction of hip and pelvis, whatever it might be. We've got a big repository of work already online, and we've got a lot of students. So now we're just, because we can no longer teach around the world, we're now taking more. So I'm currently actually extremely busy building more and more stuff to do online for my own work. I've been a movement teacher for about 20 years, movement and yoga and somatic movement. And I just started doing this on Monday on Zoom. I spent a few days last week quite anxious about it. I'm fortunate in that, well, a mixed blessing maybe. I haven't taught at any of the yoga centers for many years. I occasionally cover, but I don't have a following. I don't have anything because I don't do classes. I have privates. I'm very fortunate that most of my privates will immediately like saying, when are you going to do stuff online? So it's very easy because I'm here basically, and I'm guiding them through classes, and it's been working really well. I would have logistical issues if I was doing classes, because I don't really think I have room in my house to actually show anything, but I've had many years of exposure to yoga traditions and things like Feldenkrais, where we spent 4 years learning how to teach without having to show anything, just using the voice. So for anyone who's doing anything where you can use the voice to explain, or to counseling, or so Gail, just something just popped into my head. I mean, things like 5 rhythms and whatnot are already online, you know, and drama things and ecstatic dance. There's just so much going on. But Sally, the only thing I wanted to say, I've got an amazing link, because I sat in on about 5 hours of videos on the weekend. And it's a page that embodiedfacilitator.com have produced.
You want to type it in? So
yeah, I'll copy and paste it. And they've created, just to give you an idea, you know, how to use Zoom for online classes, how to connect PayPal, PayMe to Facebook Live, how to do this, how to do that. You know, it's really quite ridiculous, the amount of stuff they put up there. And
that's great. So
hold on, I'm doing it now, and it doesn't cost a penny. So yeah. If you're freaking out, which a lot of people on the live videos I was on with them were freaking out, this is too much information, well, then you don't have to be there live. You can just sit through the videos which they've recorded, set up a PayPal business account, add a PayPal me link,
yeah,
connecting PayPal to Facebook Live, etc., etc. So hopefully that will help. And on that note, I'm going to jump onto this class now.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your wisdom.
Pleasure. Hausch, hausch.
Hausch, hausch. Yeah. So that piece is right, that you can learn all the upfront things, and depending upon how you are, whether you're a good listener or a good visual, depends how you get it together. The piece that I think that most people will miss is the back end, which is the 80%, right? And so Gail, let's talk about you. Let's see what you normally do.
Right. So a bit similar to Ulrich in the sense that my area is movement really, and I've been teaching in conservatoires and universities for a long time. but the challenge for me is that my work is really about the experience of doing it and being in a room, and the hands-on kind of physical end of things is really where I thrive and where I think people get the most benefit. So shifting it to this virtual kind of engagement is really difficult at the moment. I'm having to grapple with how I teach in a variety of ways, the university students that I'm still teaching at the moment, but there's also my own practice and my own kind of decision about what I'm going to do with my own skills, because my life sort of changed last year a lot, and I'm now back to being freelance. So it is difficult, and I hear what Ulrich's saying about the logistics of space, because if you have a studio or even a room that is relatively clear and you can get long shots, and I've got lights and tripods and all that, but it's not practical, particularly at the moment, because I'm sharing a space which is quite small with my partner, and he's also working from home. So we're negotiating space, and that is challenging. So yesterday, for instance, I loaded up videos which were for the students to look at, which was me using language insofar as I could, and following up with information sheets and guiding them through those things. But it's not quite doing what I do in the room. So yeah, I've got a challenge on my hands there. I'm not quite sure. I've got to kind of completely reinvent who I am and how I work, and it's taking a bit of time for the dust to settle.
Yeah.
And in the context of these challenging psychological moments that we're in, so it's tricky. That's me.
Okay. Well, I can already think about how you could do it, so it's not that tricky. You just, number one, you need to surround yourself with people who are thinking like this. So I last week started to work with some entrepreneurs that I've wanted to work with for a while, but there is nothing in the conversation about this is a problem ever. And when I feel that energy, I'm going to give you some recommendations, like turn the news off. If you've got even a partner who's addicted to news, who wants to see every last, death and the counts and everything, turn it off and get yourself so that you can dip in and out. You give yourself 10 minutes per day. This is mindset, where you go, oh, actually, I'm feeling, when I spoke to my parents about the will 2 days ago, I felt really like, oh my God, because I can't even be there with them, So I allowed that sadness to just go through me. And then I was like, okay, that's it, and every day you need to do that. That's like the mindset stuff. Reduce your content with toxic people who are running around going, we're all gonna, lose all our money. Change your language about it as well. So the visual I'm getting you to really see now is the river rose with water. It started to move faster. We got on a raft. And that's where we are right now. We're on the raft. Now, what happens when you suddenly change perspective like that is you're not in the water, you're on the water, and you can start to observe things around you. And that is kind of the best perspective I want to give you. You're in observation mode right now. You have time to think. You're on a raft. Because guess what? You're at home. That's the raft. It's like, you ain't going anywhere. It's hilarious. Somebody says to me, are you free? I'm like, of course. Like, yes. I may not be at that time, but of course. So we're on our raft now, and make your home like a sanctuary. So it's like feeding into the things that make you feel good. I have a massive spiritual practice, which is probably the opposite of Caroline. So I create altars to things that I'm working on at a particular time. And so I have an altar which has got all the elements on it. It's got lots of life force, like this kind of thing on it. And it's symbols of things that I want to be focusing. So when I walk into a room, I'm not going into this mental freak out. I'm going, that's what I'm really doing. I see it across the way. That's what I'm really doing. And I am actually considering that this is going to be one of the best years in business ever. Now, can you even imagine that in the middle of all this hyper ridiculousness? I am going to give you that piece as well. So when you think about your best year ever, which you can't even imagine what would be the feeling that you would have if you had your best year ever? What would that feeling be if you just knew it was handled? Everything was handled. You figured it out. It all worked. What would the feeling be that you have then? And so let's have some feedback on that. What's the feeling that you would have if it all worked out? I saw that. You saw relief. But you see, the thing is, relief is not when relief is associated with the downturn, right? You wouldn't feel relief. It'd be way deeper than that. You've had the best. You've got accolades. You're the best in your business at what you've done this year. You wouldn't feel relief. I'm poking at you because that's the old mindset right there. I think for me, when I think like, oh, wow, it's all handled. And there's, for me this year, I was up to a big speaking gig and I got it. And then it's not happening, right? So it's going online. And I was the one that said that to the person who runs that event. And she was like, oh, we always do online. What she meant was she does live streaming from events. She doesn't think online. So I'm still doing that big gig. It may be even bigger than I ever thought. When I feel that, I feel like, yeah, fulfilled, satisfied, proud, like, oh, it's like next level is what I feel. I feel like, oh my God, I just expanded to another level. And that feeling, if you can cultivate, when I was having a particularly tough year with the yoga festival I was running, and I also had some haters online sending me hate mail every day, I started trying to think, what is that I'm experiencing? And I always had some little box that I would put it in. And I started to change the word to expansion. What I'm experiencing right now is expansion. This is expansion. And this is exactly right for what we're doing right now. This is your expansion. And so right now, I'm going to end the session. I want you to just shut your eyes for a minute. Take a deep breath in. So uncross your legs and uncross your hands. Take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale through your mouth. Inhale through the nose and exhale through your mouth. Inhale through the nose and exhale through your mouth. And now, rather than thinking that you're inhaling with your lungs, I want you to imagine that you're inhaling with every cell of your body. And as you're exhaling, you're releasing all stress, doubt, resentment. As you're breathing in, you're breathing into every cell of your body, even to the back of your heart. All this fresh, vibrant spring energy. And as you're breathing out any tiredness, illness, disappointment. As you're breathing into every cell of your body, focus on the parts that you don't normally look at. So back of the throat, back of the heart, back of the knees, breathing in fresh energy into these parts that never get any attention. And exhaling anything that's stress, worry, nervousness. And as you continue to do that, you find yourself in the most beautiful garden that you could ever possibly imagine. This is your garden. And I want you to invite in any plants, foliage, any kind. It could be the desert, it could be a mountain scene, it could be a deep forest. Wherever it is, you've got this sanctuary garden that you're in. And as you're breathing with every cell of your body, you're breathing in all the plants, the vibrant life force into every cell of your body. And I want you to visualize that you can see in 360 degrees. So you can start to see the whole of this space behind you and to the sides of you. And as you feel your bare feet on the earth, feel the temperature of that beautiful earth. Look down at the earth, see the quality of the earth. And then as you look up, see the sky. Where are you? Just imagine where this garden is located. And as you walk through the plants in this beautiful garden, I want you to even pick up the scent on the air. Feel this feeling of the most beautiful scents that you could ever bring to life, that you're just walking through. And feel the breeze on your skin, feel how alive you feel. And in the distance, you hear the sound of water. It's this beautiful sound of trickling water, very calming. And you decide that you're going to walk towards the water. So you walk through this beautiful garden and the sound of water becomes louder and louder. And you find that it opens up to a beautiful river, which has got high banks and water flowing. And tethered up by the side of the river on this beautiful private little pier is a boat. It's the perfect boat for you. It could be an ancient or modern one. But you walk with your bare feet to the end of the pier, which is a tiny little pier, and you step into the boat and you release the rope that's tethered it, and you go out into the center of the river, catching the current. If you're in a sailboat, you could put up a sail. And then you lie back in that boat. And I want you to think of 3 things that give you great gratitude when you think about your life right now. You're lying back in your boat. You're being taken by a current which is already existing. It's the navigation system, the natural navigation system of the river, and you're in it. And there's nothing that you have to do. So think to yourself, what are 3 of the most important points of gratitude right now? And name them in your mind. And then taking the energy of that gratitude, I want you to put your hands on your heart right now and breathe into that heart space. Breathe all that gratitude in. And then rubbing your hands together, keep your eyes shut. Rub, 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 rub. Rub as hard as you can. Generate heat. Place your hands over your closed eyes. Breathe in. And exhale. And then keeping your eyes shut, rub the hands again. Rub, 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 rub. Place them over the closed eyes. Breathe in. And exhale. And then 1 more of those. Rub, 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 rub. Place your hands over your closed eyes, breathe in and exhale. And then do your hair, your temples, back of the neck, front of the throat, give it a rub, face, and just coming back into the space. And feeling that you have access to this all the time during this experience that's going on. So start to change your mindset. You're in sanctuary. You're ahead of the game. You've got persistence. You've got gratitude. You're at the perfect place for what needs to happen now. Perfect, perfect timing. And leaving you with this, I'm going to tell you where the backup is to all the videos that go up, which will guide you through. Will be on my private, it'll either be on at Millionaire Yogi Facebook page, so you can catch them there. So Millionaire Yogi is Y-O-G-I, all one word, Millionaire Yogi. Or I have a private Facebook page, which is called The Spirit of Influence. And you can join that. And that's for a lot of entrepreneurs that connect, and we can even highlight your own work. So we often get people to do their own, you know, talk about what they do, make connections, and they do good business there too. So I'll write both of them down. So one is my Millionaire Yogi page. That's Facebook. And the other one is, I haven't put the Facebook link, I've just put the name. And the other is The Spirit of Influence. So the Spirit of Influence, you'd have to join, and you have to answer a couple of questions like, you know, why are you here and all that kind of thing. But everybody is welcome. And it's a bit of a connection space. And we will be highlighting people who are going through this and doing interviews and talking about how you can get yourself ahead of the game. So for now, this is just the first one I've done of this. So I just want you to realize you're allowed to be a child in this. And there's lots of information that you might start to gather, but you're chill out, slow down, be like the eagle from that perspective. And then the piece that if you're going really professional is the back end. It's not the front end. There's tiny pieces on the front end that people will teach, but nothing on the back end. So that I will roll out later. And also, just so you know, so that anybody who knows this, we also have a course on that, which is how to get your business online in 4 weeks professionally. But that's mostly back end. So the front end is this, hi, you know, I'm here, but then what? And the biggest piece is the back end. It's how to start to put systems in place so that you can make sales, so that you can refer, so that you can start to develop your list, all of those kind of things, which are the things that people don't talk about. So I will be rolling that out as well. And I just want to give you a different piece about that. Being an entrepreneur for, God, many years, many years, I have done trainings. I'm doing another one right now. Is it convenient in times when we're under stress to pay? No, never. Is it one of the best times to do it? Yes. So I want you to stop shrinking up and thinking, oh, I've got to keep it all like this. I want you to start to feel this expansion that you can feel. And then also, don't think that the money is going down the Swanee. It isn't. It's just recalibrating right now. And if you can start to get yourself into position, actually, trust me, you could have a better income now than you did like a week ago. And I really mean that. It's like but don't do the shrinking thing where it's like anything to do with that conversation makes you feel ill or worried. Just be like the person on the raft. You're observing, you're taking information in, and things will come to you that are right. And that's what I want to leave you with. So I will let you know about that. If you, at some point, you feel you want to go more professional with it, we will talk to you about that too. But for now, just have an easy day. Use scent. Start to feel good about your life. Don't freak out. And I will be back on doing this at 4 o'clock on Friday. So I'm doing Mondays and Fridays at 4, so I can deal with the Americans as well as the Brits and Europeans. And then Wednesday is the opportunity for the Australians, but some of them didn't jump on today, but it's okay. 9 a.m. for them. And I will love you and leave you. And you'll see this recording will be back up on Millionaire Yogi or the Spirit of Influence. And you can tell your friends as well, because this is what I can help with. So people aren't in this like feeling ghastly and alone or anything. It's like, this is what I do. So I'm really happy to do this. And all of this stuff is a connection piece, and you'll feel better. And you can tell your friends, okay?
Thank you so much, Sally.
Pleasure. Have a great day.
Thanks, Sally.
Namaste.